Are we there?
We are live. We are. Hello, hello, Facebook world and land of YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for coming and joining us today for Candid Conversations with Christina and Kandra. Dun dun dun.
It's really choppy on my end, and I'm not sure. You were kind of frozen there. So let me just. Okay, I'll let you start it out. And
Okay. Well, last
okay,
week we
been
were
live for
talking about. Yeah.
that was a quick minute.
Time is so fascinating, anyways. Interesting. Yeah. So last week we were talking about the whole K-pop Demon Hunter thing and how it's not what you think and opposite opinions, or I don't know if opposites right, but unpopular opinions about it. And this week we decided to talk a little bit about energy leaking and siphoning and all of the things and some tips, tools, and tricks to help us.
Yeah. Um, where shall we start? I guess for me, going through Christianity because I don't we're not picking on it. However, I would like to just bring a level of awareness to bring it back to what it was intended to be. And so if you ever feel anything like it feels like you're being attacked, or if you feel like this is creating like dissonant sounds within you, if you just witness it, just watch it and feel through that, because we've been there as well. And anything that we say, I don't know, we keep popping in and out of the screen.
Oh, it's
I
fine
don't
on
know
my
if you could
end.
hear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. um yeah, so that would be called a sort of a trigger, and that is your that's spirit speaking to you to pay attention to what's transpiring here. There are different sounds, different tones, different frequencies, and there are words tied into those and create beliefs and create a certain trajectory for that sound to go. So, one of the things that and I'm like, Spirit, help me to kind of break this open without stepping on toes. But when you're dealing with concepts that call you higher, you're gonna face parts of yourself that are really tough to navigate, depending on where you're at spiritually. Kendra, do you want to touch on that? I just need to like sit in this and just see what.
Sure. So, triggers for me, I recognized one time when I was in a conversation with one of my ex-husbands. And um I triggered his belief system, and when I said what I said, I it was like a bird, like sitting on all of these eggs, and then when it got ruffled, it stood up and it kind of like shook out all of its feathers. And I was like, whoa, like you're nesting all of these belief systems and belief patterns. And it's not until someone says something that makes you ruffle your feathers that you want to stand up and shake it out. And that's when
Mhm.
those belief systems can either shake out or, be seen or, swapped out, is kind of the picture that was in my head. And it kind of helped me understand why sometimes being triggered is necessary and sometimes it's good even though it doesn't always feel good at the moment. And I started to be okay when those situations happened because I felt like logically I had a different perspective of it. So just as you said, it allowed me to kind of sit and question, like, well, wait a minute, why? Why am I triggered right now? What is this? And to separate from the emotion of the trigger and to kind of pull back and observe it differently, right? So that's my thought process on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading an article on decisions, but I'll use the word choices. We have choice points. And one of the things it was talking about was there are different style of thinkers that came together, and you know this one is more on the esoteric side, this one's more on the metaphysical, this one's more on the Bible, and the classical teaching. Then you've got these different styles of thinking and veins of knowledge, and they couldn't agree on anything because of the style of words that they're using. There is a language for computers, language for horses, there's language for chickens, and there's different technologies there. And so when you're looking through the eyes of a chicken and what it does, there's a specific function, and then computers and what it does. And in this article it was talking about how this is what they all could agree on, is as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. It's
Mm,
our thoughts, our thought pattern, we become. So I anchor into that truth, that capacity for thinking, so that I can think correctly. If I'm able to anchor in, okay, I am what I think. Well, what am I thinking on? What am I pondering on? Am I worrying? Am I worrying about finances? Am I worrying, or am I resting? So when I hear something that's outside of something I don't maybe fully comprehend, or it stirs up this belief that I banked over here somewhere, and I'm like, oh, I forgot that was there. And then it starts creating this dissonance. If you play, there's certain keys on a piano that sound good together, and then there's ones that you're like, whoa, you can feel both of them, and it's not exactly like harmonizing. However, there is a group of there's a choir, and I forgot where it was from, but they somehow have mastered making that dissonant actually sound good. And again, there's an art to everything. There is a finding that within the chaos, what feels like chaos, or maybe this set of rules say that that's out of tune, and then you've got these other people that study sound that say no frequency is bad. You know, the whole 440 music with the 432, it's like you're saying one sound bad. I think it's the volition. We're powerful beings, we're life force energy. And if we charge a thought, meaning put attention to it, if we charge that, we can make it. I mean, we are literally creating worry. We are literally creating depression. We are literally creating. So I say that to say, coming back to coming out of, coming through Christianity and learning about the Bible, and I still, there are principles I still to this day, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And Jesus said, "You guys are going to do greater things." And I always wondered that. I'm like, why is it that, our parents have prayed for us? We're going to do greater things. And then when we get into those greater things, now it's caused a dissonance between certain, we're now like so outside of it. Reason being because consciousness has developed and grown since that time space. Because, if you look at our parents and their parents, they didn't have the psychology we have today, or the expansion and working through, the revelation about relationships and our spiritual growth. Everybody had to figure it out, and we hear from each other. I've been studying YouTube, a lot of people on YouTube, listening. I'm listening. What is being said? What's coming through? And I listen for that golden thread. Okay, yep, I hear that. I hear that. String that together. Okay. And I would get bits and pieces. And so, when Jesus was talking about, you'll do greater things, meaning what he had opened up for us energetically, the possibility and embodying service to source, service to God, and being a conduit for source to flow through us. He opened that channel, because at that time you had to kill animals, you had to have blood sacrifices, you had to go to the temple, you had to pay, all these rules that were not dealing with the internal mechanism, the function that we really are. This technology that we're figuring out today was so hidden back then, but not Jesus. He got it, and there were other people, and I'm learning about it, all who was involved. And so, but that is such a high frequency, high function, high capacity, that you really have to die to those things that you think, the things that are in this world that are considered tradition, and like let go and trust. But we've been conditioned to fear, and oh my gosh, that's demonic, and to wall ourselves into a prison. So when somebody starts speaking outside of that paradigm, you start feeling not safe, right? You start feeling. So what do you do in that space? Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm enjoying the flow. Keep going.
Like I said, feel free to jump in, because I feel
Yeah,
like I'm on a roll.
yeah,
The video's coming in and out on my end, so I'll just keep talking until you let me know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
okay, so as when you're in that position of, gosh, I remember I was working on some paperwork, and I said, source, I mean, I know something created us, and I know, I just didn't know what form, what I was looking at, what am I face to face with, and it was very obscure. And I remember I was in the kitchen in the Minnesota house, and I said, "Gosh, I know why people hold on to Jesus. I get it." And I was really trying to just trust me. It wasn't that I wasn't. The narrative is trust Jesus. Jesus, take the wheel. I want to clarify
Mm.
that, and I will. But I was learning to trust me in what I hear. And I wanted to turn to Jesus and pray and ask for his help, and give me the answer, and really press into that. And instead I just let go. And I just allowed myself to feel that uncomfortable feeling like, I don't, what the fuck? I mean, it's the ultimate WTF. And you're just like, you are so stretched. And then Jesus comes walking up. He's like, I'm the one of many. And I think I said this last week, but I hold on to this because it's not that I don't believe in him, you know? It's not that I don't, just the narrative about him, and getting clarity and trusting me in what I hear. So when he walked up to me, he knew to come to me. And I'm that still to my to and I've had other encounters that I could go into, and I'm like, dude, he's been there, but he was not there to take over my life and for me to worship him. He was there to help me, like as a brother. He's a brother to me. Here, hey, I get it. I know what you're going through here. And when he came and he says, I'm the one of many. And I was like there's many of us waking up, many of us anchoring in that we are Christ in us. What is Christ? It's a frequency. It is the original template that did not fall. It is what how God created us. It's like the spirit version of us that is not tainted or sinful or whatever, to use that language. It is, but there's mechanics, there's tangible, just like the computer. I'm going to use a lot of computer, I guess, language to help us navigate and anchor in and see as, what does it mean to see as Christ. And so it's that version of us that's healed and whole, and then you help others, and your word is changing, and it's code, and it's sound, and it's healing, and he tapped into that place. So, you know, it wasn't, he was the one that brought true Christianity. And I again, Christic codes, Christic template. I like to use that because it's like, okay, wait, a template is, how do you use a template? You get to customize it to you. What do you want to do? You know, I,
Mhm.
there's, through my life, I'm watching how I have tried different things, try to go into finance. I was a mom, or I am a mom, but my kids are with their dad, and I've had a lot of time to myself. So a lot of time to think and learn to love myself and actually like myself, because I've opened up these gates and channels and circuits within that Christ is talking about in the Bible. But with the knowledge that there's more when you start to navigate internally and you start waking up certain aspects, and you're like, where in the Bible does it say that? And then you have to just roll with it because it's open and it is living. You are a living, breathing being. And I've looked into the mechanics of breathing, you guys. You think you're just breathing air, oxygen, H2O? What about the next dimension and many dimensions up? What are you really breathing? Why do we breathe? So, well, I'm purposely like, you know, little nuggets here and there. Yes, I want to hear more, but I don't want to fry your brain. But your brain may be fried because I do it to myself all the time. But you hit a point where frequentially you're just like, oh my gosh, floating, no pain in your body, and you're just in awe and wonder and gratitude and thankfulness, and source creator is real, and you want to create, co-create, and you want to be and share. And that's when you know you're high frequency. And one of the best quotes that I heard in a long time by Jason Westerfield, we went to go see him in Reading a few months ago. He says, friendship is the highest form of spirituality. And that so touches every point where Jesus did show up to me. He was my friend. He came to me to show me, like, you got this, keep going. And it's like I feel it right now because it's so much more deeper now because I've let go of the narrative and allowed my narrative to come forward. So, with all of that being said, the uh, why are we here? We're here to deepen the conversation, go into places that, you know, we are the Bible, we are the Word. I would say more the Word than the Bible, because that, that has been tainted. And even saying that, I know that ruffles feathers. However, love is, there's tough love and giving knowledge and, sharing the truth so that people can come up higher. And how do you navigate that? And sometimes it's just, saying it. So, why do I say that? Do we want to go there? I want to kind of do a temperature check because I got different spaces open. I'm like, where do we want to go? So, I want to check in with you. How are
Yeah.
you? How are we doing? Anything?
Um, yeah, I'm doing good. There's a couple people on saying hi and all the things. We're getting hearts and loves and miss you. So I was just shouting out to the fam watching. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm down,
I don't know.
Christina. Yeah, we can flow any which way. I'm open. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Just seeing which one we want to. I. It's really. I just feel the presence heavy right now. So
yeah,
this conversation is a lot easier than we realize. And the power of our words, just navigating to that shortcut that it's just here. It's like we have to go here and then we have to do all these steps to get, and it's like just erase all that or just let all that go and
hmm,
converse with yourself, with the Christ in you, and
yeah,
be still and know that I am God. What's that really saying? Let's break that open, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I know yesterday I got into a really interesting conversation. With my boss, we were discussing the human genome, and he's like, what are your thoughts on evolution? And I'm like, well, I believe in it, but not quite the way that you do. I don't believe that we descended from monkeys, because why are there still monkeys? Like, what was wrong with them? Why did only this case, like it's just weird to me. And he's like, Kandra, it's been proven. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe your science. I don't know. And I was just like, oh my gosh, Kandra, you're so far removed from all of the narratives. Like, and he's like, well, why do you think that? And I'm like, just through my studies and experiences, and so I know this is like way left field, but we were just kind of discussing all of the different possibilities and potentials and ways to go within. And I'm like, well, why don't you just experience God, creator, source for yourself? I'm like, I don't, because you said, be still and know that I am God. And I'm like, I believe that God or source, there is such a thing. I said, and I believe that we are expressions of that. And he was, I'm like, well, an apple tree apples, the universe or source peoples is kind of how I see that, you know? um I said, so if we take a cup of the ocean and we, take a cup and we put the ocean in a cup, I said, it's still the ocean, it's just in a different container. So you're source in a different container and I'm source in a different container. We're still the same thing. And he was like, okay. And because I know that I've personally had, I think it's Psalm 46:10. Nope, making that up. That's a different one. That is the be still and know that I am God. And once upon a time when I would read that, I would always, put that on my image of Sky Daddy, like, be still, I got you know, and I am God. And okay, cool. And I was able to, have trust and faith in that part of my journey. And it's beautiful. And I'm grateful for it. But, and like you said, coming to the point where you can say it and know that, well, if I believe that I am one with God, as Jesus said, like Jesus prayed that we would know that we were one. So now I be still and know that I am, and I am God. And I was like, whoa, so like, even you're saying the same words, but your belief level, that it settles differently in turn inside, like as you continue to meditate on these things or journey. And yeah, I agree. I'm not putting things on, and it's not that I don't believe in Jesus or Holy Spirit. Like, those are my road dogs, BFFs, the original OGs. No matter what, like going into scary situations, I'm still pulling on. I am, but I'm trusting what's coming up and popping off inside of me as well, because I recognize that I'm sent as Jesus was sent. So I have a different path. I have, but and in spirit, it's all connected. We're all, you know, um sent.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
I want I want to touch on the whole monkey thing. Ken and
yeah,
Carrie husband. Ken told me about when they've done studies on these, the common chimpanzee that was on an island, and they dropped off a box. And do you know this story? Okay, so they
ish.
dropped off a box. Yeah, and from what I remember, they didn't really think anything of it, but they watched somebody, a human, go and open the box to get whatever was probably food or something on the inside. So they left the box there, restored it back to, let them see what they do. And it turns out they go and do that. They go open it. Well, of there's a law, and there's a part of me that wants to say correspondence or reciprocity. No, there's a law that when you shift one monkey, it genetically, because all the monkeys are one, all the chimpanzees, they are one. They're just replicas, right? Multiplication. So that monkey was able to figure it out, and more monkeys, were able to figure it out. And I don't remember all the details, and I apologize if I'm like messing up the story, but what fascinated me was that all those monkeys learned. However, they put the same style of monkey, the chimpanzee, on another island and put that box there, and they did it. Nobody showed it
Mm,
to them. They
yeah,
just went and opened it. So this over here just unlocks something within that chimpanzee genome that made it available, and somehow there's a connection, there's tanglement there, that they had that memory. They knew what to do when they saw that. So there's that technology, is why I can it's not as it's a linear of like we came from because it's so linear. You don't know the higher dimensional. There's other law systems that we're just not aware of.
yeah. So I didn't hear that story specifically, but what comes up for me in that is the morphogenetic fields. So there's the scripture, live as the ants or be wise like the ants, in Proverbs. I always wondered about that. And actually, I was in a conversation with, I believe it was Corey Gray, like a couple of years ago, and we were discussing the morphogenetic fields, and how ants, when they figure out where something is, they lay the pheromones, but and they push it out into the fields so that the other ones can find it. And that's when we were talking about the monkeys. He brought up the similar story, and it made sense to me, because if it's the same thing with the track, where they were trying to get a minute a mile or something like that, like the fastest human on the planet. It was impossible to break the impossible to break the mile marker where they were at. But once one human did it, it was like it unlocked the potential to know that it's possible, so that the other humans were able to then push forward and do it, even though they were training exactly the same. It was just like the knowledge of it being available, right? Or it was put out into the field. And to me, that's no different than why, because I question everything. So I was like, well, why? What was the purpose of, Jesus coming and dying, if it wasn't the penal substitution that we've been taught, like to cleanse us of all of those things? What was it really? And it was, well, if he could come and do all of those things, he was pumping that out into the field to know that we can do those things as well. So it's just like the scripture you said, we're going to do those things and more. Well, because we know what's been unlocked in those fields. So we can tap into that Christic field. We can tap into those dimensions, pull from that, and move that within the earth now. And I'm like, oh, well, death is defeated. So uh, the more we tap into that, the more we tap into, well, this isn't our original template. This isn't how we're originally designed. And we start living from that, the Christ in you, the hope of glory. It's not hope as in wishful thinking, it's confident expectation. No, this is scientific, bro. Like he did this, he, unlocked all of these things. That's available for us as well, and we can tap into that. And when you live by faith, all of the things, like, so I was getting so frustrated weeks ago with the whole church thing. They're like, once upon a time, you're going to meet your savior and you're going to do this. And I'm like, no, now faith is. Today is the day of salvation. We can tap into that shit now. What are you doing? What are you teaching the people? Like, let's bring our awareness up. Like, okay, so you did the things, you said the prayers, now Jesus is inside of you. Like, okay, now let's move as Christ, right? We move the same way you got saved, it says. So now we're in that Christ nature. How are we moving? So you're no longer believing from this lower victim mindset. These things happened to me, and I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm not arguing with you on that, but let's bring that thinking a little bit higher. What can we obtain from this? Says that all things work for our good. So I know it's an effed up situation. I know it hurt, but how does this work for me? What am I getting out of this? Like, question and tap in, keep going. Like, there's something there for you to uncover. Why are you triggered in this? Why does this bother you? Why does it, for me, why do I get frustrated when I feel like I'm not heard? What is that? Oh, well, I don't believe in my own words. Like, I'm struggling with that. So when this person's triggering me it's just showing my own belief patterns. Oh, that's there for me to work on. Let's go inside, Kandra. Logically, the power of your words, and the frequencies and all of the, cymatics of it. So let's take that and, let's go inside. Well, what are you looking at? What are you believing here? And, oh, well, once upon a time I was told this, I should not be, I should only be seen, not heard, so I anchored in that. So it's, that dissonance you were talking about. Well, this is triggering this. So so let's observe, let's look at it, question, go within, so I uh, this conversation and is not to poke fun or be mean or malicious or against the churches or anything like that, but it's to call higher. Like, what are we doing here? Like, cool, I feel like so many of us have gone through the deconstruction and all of the, and swung so far this way. And I don't want anything to do with church. I don't want anything to do with the Bible. I don't want anything to do with that. But now it's like, here we are coming full circle. And it's like, no, wait a minute. There's stuff in there for me. Like, we can extrapolate the meat and spit out the bones, you know what I mean? Or let's boil the bones and make bone broth. Like, there's so much for us,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Like, don't
yes.
throw out the baby with bathwater, It's like it all has function. So I want to really, it came in as you were talking to introduce, to show, because I had to learn that I had to really, my work is healing the emotional body and dimension two, the emotion, the laws of motion are feeling, which is architecturally one of the more
Can you see the
plumpier.
conversation
Yeah.
or the
Uh,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
whoa, whoa, that's cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing, Lisa. That's crazy. I'm curious what that movie is. Um, what was I saying?
Juicier, plumpier.
Oh
You want
yes,
to
the
introduce
dimension two is spatially, because it's viscerally felt in our physical body. So physical body, and then right next to that, dimension two, which, if you think about dimensions, just different set of laws, right? Different set of function. So we have that parked right inside our body, and that the power of these higher frequencies that we're talking about, different law system parking right in a, I don't know, capacitor. What comes to mind? It's a holding space, because our physical bodies are in density. It's matter, and then you have a equal twin, which is that emotional body. And there's a lot more, but I just want to focus on that emotional body. Why we're saying what we're saying, as far as, it's like, okay, Jesus died for you, that narrative, but like, to really take that in, what are we saying? We're talking about our nervous system. We're talking about that space where, when you had that experience with God and you felt touched and your heart is wide open and you're crying those healing tears and all that relief, and whatever that sphere of contention broke, and you have that experience where you experience freedom. Well, I for me, because the instruction manual, if you will, could only take me so far. And I would experience the freedom, but then go right back into that sphere of contention. And then I'd have a journey again and break free and then go right back in it. I was in a loop. So we call that a loop. I was going back and forth. For other people, it might be, drugs, and then, or drugs, and then you have that freedom, and then, or depression, and you'd come out and have a good day, or, fill in your story. And I found myself, like, I'm in this insane loop, because it was like the only solution is give it to Jesus. You got to find your peace within God. And I'm like, well, that didn't always sit well. I had these faculties that I came to earth with, that I would exercise, or it would run for me, to where I started asking those questions. I was watching this show. Sometimes spirit has me watch certain shows, and I was watching this show that my husband's daughter told me. She's like, "You should watch this show," and it's got monsters in it, but I got to see her through that show in a whole different light, and I felt like she saw me in that show. And it's about these younger kids, probably like, 13, 12, 13, 14, and they're all on this adventures, fighting the monster and developing relationship, having uh, friendship. Yeah, it's complicated. And the way they talk to each other, I'm like, I remember those days, you're heated, it's intense, and just do what I say. And everybody's like, why? You know, and it's like you could see the build up of why everybody's doing what they're doing, but you're watching them. Why am I doing that? And just do what I say. Sometimes there's that part of me where I'm like, Spirit, I do that to you, don't I? It's like you say, act, do this, and I'm like, well, why? It's like just do it. Like there's a space for that, but when you do it, then it's like the comprehension just fills in. Oh, I see why I had to do that, why I had to act that day, or whatever. So, um, the okay, let me come back to I was building up different dimensions, the emotional body, the nervous system. Okay, why Jesus? What did he do? Why did he heal? How did he heal? What did he do? What and you start poking holes to ask the questions, and it's actually like I see it as a built-in, it's like the perfect journey, because that is the beginning start of sovereignty. Wait a minute, huh? Why? Because somebody has to answer that. And when you hear that within, and then it brings a clarity, you start to go into a dimension or a space, a comprehension of that doesn't do this. You start to kind of step out of the situation and you witness, you observe and watch, and you're like, oh, you're not attached, right? You're not in the contention or the war. You're, a lot of us have ambivalence. That's another word that I learned recently. I didn't know there was an actual word for that. Shouldn't I? That
What
teeter
was the word?
ambivalence.
Ambivalent.
Ambivalence. It's that inner war. So again, there's a word for that. Who created that? Why do we go through that? Okay, I get that this narrative, the church, and why they say, surrender to the Christ, surrender to good, don't hurt anybody, because there are people that, do function and we all know, we witness it in the world. However, that ambivalent nature, where how do you reconcile that on the inside, right? So I know that, I hope I don't lose anybody, because it's like there's a lot to cover, to comprehend and bring together, because we are multi-dimensional beings. The phones and the computers, that technology came from us. Yet we are 100 years behind the ones that are in charge of us and governing our dimension here. We're 100 years behind. They went galactic back in the early 1900s. And you're like, wait, what? Yeah, all the stuff you hear on the news, you're behind the times. It's manipulation. You're being told a narrative so that story, if everybody's tuning in, your life force is now leaking sideways to charge this thought form, because those people comprehend, and those people, I mean the ones that are manipulating and controlling the narrative, that they're within I've been studying under Colin Russell J. Colin Gold, who has taught the quantum grammar and the quantum banking system, and that has revolutionized my life in comprehending why things are the way they are. And the 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 dimensional, the multi-dimension, the laws, the thought form, and the ability to broadcast that, just like the church. Everybody knows about Jesus dying for your sin, and that's been pushed and pushed and pushed. Everybody knows about Jesus. Well, that same technology has been used against us to get us to believe something that we're not even like, well, this is just, there's a church on every corner. Not all of them are the same. Everybody's at different levels. There is a vein of truth within it, but it's gotten distorted. So that's what I wanted to kind of highlight. There is a Christic matrix, the power, and it's so much more than what we've been told as far as embodying it, to where you're experiencing healing, watching debt disappear, watching people and relationships shift, and watching, in my own field, because I my emotional body was raped, pillaged, plundered, torn, ripped. And I mean, I was so wobbly, and I was like, what is this? And so I had to go through that journey. And now learning technology to sharpen and tune and tighten up and thicken and solidify it more. And it had to do with my mental faculties and the sharpness and fortitude. See, these are words that power and pump up. But when you're told, "Oh, you're just a wretched sinner," that starts affecting your emotional body, your mind, like, and things start low vibration. You start, oh, and then we try to slap a Jesus band-aid and like, oh, but Jesus took care of it. Da, da, da. But how does somebody outside of me take care of me unless I siphon from somebody else? And what's happening is, when I siphon from this Jesus belief, again, the true version, who's sovereign, does not take energy from anybody else and feeds only through source and source return. So there's a closed circuit loop of, I am in service with source, and source is serving through me. So we're coherent. That's the true Jesus. But yet we're all trained to, oh, Jesus, help me. And we're leaking our energy sideways. And then we're pulling on this narrative, this version that has to be worshipped. And it's crazy, because Jesus never said, worship me. So where did this idea of worship? So again, we're poking holes, and I don't want to go too deep, because I don't want to lose the momentum of simply asking questions. And just the physical body and the emotional body, just start asking questions, and you'll experience for yourself, and
Mhm.
it'll feel correct in your body. It'll lift you. And um without straying too far, when we're leaking sideways, we're not containing our field. So um Jesus, he had that source, and return, anything that wasn't. So if you think, so if it was me, and I had a heart for people, and I comprehended sovereignty and want to teach others their own sovereignty, they can tap into source themselves. And it's such a creative expression, because Kandra is like comedy. I mean, the fun side of God. Jonathan, I experienced God in such a way through him that I'm like, I had to face parts of me that I lost my sense of humor, being so, going through some damaging times. And he would be that memo minder of like, no, laugh at yourself and have fun and not take it so serious, because my emotional body would just absorb, and then I hold it, and then I'm like, and I would just be in that reality. anchoring that in my body, and then it started, just my body couldn't hold it and things started falling apart. This was a while ago. Um so the true Jesus, or the Christ nature that God is trying to teach us, but I can't even go by the Bible, because that, when now comprehending that that is has been tampered with, when you comprehend grammar, what has happened to the grammar in our world, and I'm really trying to take care that what I say um, is triggering, and I'm like, do I want to do that right now? I will say this. A, one of the things I
Let her
real
rip, Tater Shed.
huh?
I said, just let her rip, Tater
Yeah,
Chip.
yeah, yeah. I'm just, it's just, I know my fire, and I know that I can really push because I do it to myself. And I guess a part of me is like, let people get to know me before I start doing that, but whatever. Okay, so I used to think that the Bible was law, and I was that wasn't correct. Um, there is a legal, lawful system that the Bible, or the religion, you've got government, religion, and they're married to each other, because through religion there's control. And when you've got these two, what do you call it, behind the scenes, um, what's that frequency? I got your back, pat my back, I'll pat yours, kind of a thing. They know what they're doing, they know what they're communicating, but they use terms that make you think that they're surrendering to God, but it's really a constitution to themselves. And on an egoic level, it's not source connected, because source is for the service of humanity, for wholeness, for healing, for solidarity, field containment, field literacy. And the government and religion don't do that. It's the opposite of that. So that I introduce the phantom matrix. It's a reversal of what Christ came to do. He came to, no, flip it back. It was meant you, because when you're sovereign, when everybody's sovereign, they've got their own finances, they're manifesting their own wealth, they've got their health, they pray and they do techniques and heal. Their emotions are joyful, abundant, because they're sovereign in themselves. What would the world look like through that lens? Not the way,
Mm,
not all these wars, because they just lack knowledge on, you are a multidimensional being, you are connected to source. The fact that you're even here is evidence enough of what you carry, because of what you had to go through to get here. There's mechanics and functions and technologies to even be present in this world. So the technology that you mentioned was the morphogenetic field. That technology is a blueprint of scalar mechanics. So I am a we have morphogenetic fields, and there's functions in there to that we could tweak and manipulate in a positive way, in a way where we our own closed loop system, and not have to feed off of anybody else. So this government religion needs to feed off of people, because those people that are in charge of that purposely disconnected. So if you think about a 12 dimension, just think of like a building, a 12-story building. They closed down level 8 and level 12. What does level 12 represent? The Christ nature, the template, the original healed whole template, that you are perfect in every way. You've done all the work to connect that and manifest that in your body. Well, what does that look like? It includes letting go of stinking thinking, bad habits, things that go against the nature of Christ, that if I, you know, drink a bunch of alcohol, the damaging effect, like it actually kills your body, it fractures your soul. We don't realize what that does through our soul body, the etheric nature, the energetic nature. We don't realize how it fractures us. Well, if you stop doing that, everything comes back into alignment to that wholeness template. And then level 8, which is your voice, what you speak, the you're speaking from wholeness and you're broadcasting that. You're speaking from balance. And I remember my teacher, Ashayana Dean, said that there are so many phantom reversal currents in D8. And I was like, what is that? What does she mean? And when I learned that it's your voice, what you speak, I'm like, oh, we speak all kinds of reversals. We speak all kinds of sideways language and not clear command and clear on direction where we're going. It's complaining and this and then upset, blah blah blah, which is I get it. I get that frustration and those emotions. However, breathe through it and move out of that energy. For some people, it becomes part of their personality, and they're anchored in that, and they don't even realize it, that it becomes their personality. And I've witnessed that, and I'm just like, whoa. And I didn't comprehend why and how that worked. Well, now I know, and I'm like, oh, I have grace. I don't take it personal because you you you've anchored that to, you think that that's who you are. And I'm like, wow, watching your movie. So back to the ones that are in control, cut off those power sources to be able to speak life. They cut that off. So now you've got everything toppling and falling and collapsing. Well, where are you going to get energy from? Oh, I've got to manipulate this one over here. I've got to create fear. There was, I heard about Charlie, uh, that, and I've heard him speak. He articulates very well, very, very sound mind. And he was recently shot. And I was like, whoa. And Dr. Samuel B. Lee, another YouTuber who speaks on this level of multidimensionality, he was talking about how that feeds the grid of fear, and like, oh my gosh, and all kind you know I've seen different things of different correspondences to that. There were some that were happy he was killed. uh, I can't, my mind, I'm like, that's not Christic, right? So there is still a sense of healthy, unhealthy, right or wrong, like that. Would I want to, for someone to say, I'm glad he got shot, or yeah, he needed to be taken out? Where's that coming from? There's elements of control. Not, they were highly triggered. So again, I'm just using a sample, so it's not personal. We have to kind of use a sample, like that's a little more extreme. It's easier to to see rather than the subtle, because the subtle, it takes time to really hone in and listen to that. So the obvious, for someone to say, I'm glad they got killed, I okay, what's behind that? The thought of, you know, what energies, the left, the right, you've got this bi wave going on. You've got people in this camp and people in this camp, when really we could be in our own camp doing our own thing and doing our own performances, living out our own lives. And the government and our spirituality is within, and it's been taken out of us. And so it's got us looking outside of ourselves, out of our control. And it's actually a phantom thing. It's like, oh, that's your thing. If you want to participate in that, you can, and you don't have to. And that's what people don't realize. They think it's this or this. And it's like, nope, I could do my own thing and let those constructs die out, and you define
Mhm.
what your self governance is, what your self spirituality is. So again, we're charging something that doesn't have to be here. We could take it in our own hand. And that's what Yeshua did. That's what Jesus did. He did that. The government and religion wanted him out. They were like, no. So I hope I didn't. I hope that I know like I said, there was a lot of doors. I'm like, oh, which one do I go through? I would say coming back to sovereignty, anchoring to your own system and getting to know your own system. And when everybody realizes their own system and how they are the ocean, literally,
Mhm. Mhm.
there's no need to, I need that from them and I need that from them and I need to believe this over here. Our cords are crossed everywhere and it's like, okay, let me bring that back. Let me bring this back. Let me bring that back. And when you're connected to source, it's your own little, you're good. You're satisfied. You're complete. And I still get things that come up. I'm like, oh, that's not complete. Okay, apartment 22, go ahead and take care of that. Any phantom loop goes right back to source. You got that? Thank you. You know, you put your field to work. You are cognizant and aware, and your fortitude, your command center is more online, and your will is now becomes law. In my studies, I was like, wow, the will is your law. Well, what are you communing with? Is it this phantom idea or is it correctness, this true universal law? There's the hermetic laws, law of polarity. That's a great one to start with if you want to study to learn um, polarization, why things are polarized or a bi-wave, and how do you get out of that? You don't have to be this one or this one. There's another possibility, and so again, these are things that the nervous system honoring. I want to honor everybody else's nervous system because that is your direct connection to spirit and the physical. That's your bridge. And for me, since I've been taking these fixed drops, my everything just skyrocketed because I have the support to and the balancing uh within my body, and it's allowed me to just take off and embody, take off and embody, access body, lasso that, bring it here, like
Yeah.
bring it into my body because I'm finally feeling safe. I'm finally good in my body. I finally am like, yes, I could look at that without this emotional pain running in the
Mhm.
background and, this problem or whatever. And it was like I was absorbing and taking in, and it's like, nope, I needed to work on my nervous system. Found this supplement thanks to you, Kandra, and have been doing that. Gosh, we've been doing that what, 5 months?
So we started in April. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, April.
And this is a
What's
total side note. I don't know if you've heard this. I didn't watch the full thing, but Dr. Ben Bowers was talking about how studies are coming out that after 6 months of being on it, your stem cells are actually regenerated and they start reproducing in your body. So, like, it takes usually 6 months of all of the other things. Can I segue for a second?
yes, yes,
Because I
please.
was getting some really cool visuals as you were explaining and talking about this. And I was like, whoa, this is a really cool, concrete way to land this in my mind. Because as you were talking about they cut off D12 and they cut off D8, those dimensions. I don't know if you said like a body in the floors, but I was like, whoa, that's really cool. Because if you start to look at yourself as a layered floor or a multi-storied building, right? I was like, whoa, that's cool. Cause I saw me walking into my own building in level one and kind of like exploring that. What is that? And then you were talking about the nervous system. And I was like, whoa, but if your D1, which is like, I saw it kind of like your root, right? Like your base level, your physical body. So
Mm-hmm.
many of us, even through the church narrative and all of that, we were taught that we're not safe from a foundational level. So I had fires going on in floor one. So in this room over here that I was taught never to explore or open up or question, there's a dumpster fire going on in there. So how in the hell is the rest of my building supposed to feel safe if there's a dumpster fire behind door number 2 in floor 1? Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I was like, whoa. And then you have been talking about how you're going into all of these different dimensions and clearing out and exploring. And I kind of wondered, like, well, what does that look like? And I feel like today the answer was just so clear when you were talking about this. I'm like, whoa, she's going into all of these floors within herself, into these dimensions and exploring. Well, what's here? Questioning, looking, observing, right? And I was like, whoa. So I so you go into floor one and then you go into floor two, the emotional body, and start exploring there. And where are we leaking? And oh, well, this whole back of the building's been blown off in level two because of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been taught to leak our energy this way. So let's do some repair. And like, that's, and when you were talking about the nervous system, I'm like, whoa, that's the communication that goes into every single room on every single floor. So that's kind of like that, in the fix, how it's helped, because there's no way I would be where I'm at in my journey without these drops to physically help my body settle and feel safe, even though there's a dumpster fire in floor one. But now I have the communication and, the awareness that I can go from D12 all the way down, just, a little fireman pole, go all the way back, you know? And hold on, I'm going to put this comment on stage because I just got it and didn't read it yet. So it's like all of these things help um you to navigate your inner terrain. You know what I'm saying? So this was such super cool imagery to help. Like, I'm excited to go explore my building. Okay, I want to read this now. Check it out. I came here. They used the planet's power to make them like gods, and they've been terrorizing the entire universe, and they're on their way back here. Anyone who judges dies. Interesting. Firestar.
Curious.
Do you have any
Um,
thoughts on that?
I do have a comment. Anyone who judges, yeah, just be aware that you're only whatever you're judging and what is judging. Oh my gosh, I don't, whatever that distortion, you actually plant that in your body. You create shadow. So when you're judging someone, like for me, I don't judge Christians because I was there. I see the growth. And I don't, like, oh my gosh, they go to church still, and oh my gosh, I can't believe they believe that, or shaming. You're really doing that to your own your own body. You're creating a shadow. You're creating now this being to. Uh, it's actually a built-in that's for you that you're like essentially creating your own demon, and it's going to torment you because you're bringing life to that thought form. So the when I got clarity on that, because I felt like I always felt judged, I would feel these things because I felt like I came into this earth, just did not know distortion, did not know that was a thing, and what the heck, like, what is that, why did they act like that, and I had no clue. But I would feel that space of judgment, but I was feeling them create their own prison, in a sense, and dark shadows and things like that. So that's what I've learned. When we judge, we're really, that's us. That is an internal thing within ourselves that we need to flip and reverse that. Um, yeah, there's many of stories that I could go into, but I know we're already like a little over an hour. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I'm good. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I hear what he's saying, and yep, the planet Earth is very powerful, but also got a lot of sideways ideas, and it's a journey to navigate through to see which one is me. Who is it? What is it? So yeah, the floor thing. Another thing I want to add, when you were talking about having the fire in the dumpster, it's like floor one if you think about it. I thought office space came to mind, right? You've got coworkers and relationships and family in the physical. You're experiencing, if you don't know, you're multidimensional. This is what you see is what you get, right? So you're seeing and they're speaking and you feel it, and this is what feels real. And when you were talking about that, I'm like, oh wow, that's that bi-wave uh mechanic playing out. But if you go up, and if you go to the second floor and you're like, oh wait, there's all these emotions. Wait, those are portals to the opposite? Because again, reverse the reversal. Turn it back. Turn the current back to you, back to correctness. So let's use a sample. Depression. What would be the opposite of depression? Being in your passion. So if you're feeling depressed, there's some belief or something that is getting your attention to launch you to your passion. What do you like to do? Well, there's a journey in that. Maybe it's, do I like to cook? Do I like to clean? Do I like to, you start to move. It's meant to be energy to help you move through certain things. What's another one? A lot of, what's another one that a lot of people that are coming through spirituality, who am I? What's that? Is there an emotion behind that? Doubt? uh
Yeah, there's a lot of self-doubt. I feel like that's a good one.
yeah, so self-doubt. Okay, well, who am I? All right, let me listen to this one. Oh, stumbled on this video. Oh, I came across this book. You start with these mini leadings, lean into these mini leading, that spirit's leaning you towards. Oh, that word. Oh, that color resonates. Oh, and you start to little steps to move out of the fear. Small world. I didn't realize how small I made myself to be, but I when I after coming out of that, I realized that had to happen to close off and cut off any leaks, siphons, hijack. I had to come into my own self and hang out with myself, and not, I mean, cut the world out to like, wait a minute, who am I? Be in my own little cocoon, my own little chrysalis, because I was literally becoming goop to completely reform to something new, right? So, what we think is depression or what we think is doubt, those are functions of oscillation. It's a open expansion or contraction. So those things needed to contract you to pull you out of siphons and loops and something that you were expanded into, right? So it's to pull you back, pull you back, pull you back. And we think it's a negative thing, but it's working for your good. So it's to get you to face yourself. And I recently had
Mm.
to go through that, uh, when I fell off the horse, because I would sit a lot already on my own volition. And then when I was forced to sit, all of a sudden I want to go work out. I want to go climb the mountain. I want to go help Jonathan. He's building our dome home for the winter and help him build the wall. And I wanted to do all these physical things all of a sudden, right? But before, in my own volition, I would um, sit down. But when I was forced to, I was like, oh, my fire comes up a little bit, right? And I was like, okay, spirit, I'm here. I'm paying attention. Even though that feeling, right? It's free energy.
Mhm.
And there's a portal
Mhm.
there to the opposite. And lo and behold, I found some things deep within, and something really clicked in my now space that is the new light projecting, and I can't ignore it. It's my new story, it's my new movie. And I watch it, I look at it, I listen. I can't even divert from it if I wanted to. Sorry, there's a lot of moisture out here, so my hearing aid gets clogged a little bit, so I gotta push air.
No worries.
Not something you hear every day on a live. Um, yeah, I'm like in a very floaty. It feels good to articulate these things that I've had to watch, flow, and listen to, but couldn't articulate because I still my pain body. I was still locked up in my pain body, and so to
Mm.
now be able like, "Bloop," oh, and say it. That's the D8. That is Dimension 8, Floor 8. My voice unlocking, opening, speaking in the power. Like I have witnessed I've witnessed that dimension where sound, I saw when you speak, I saw the coding and the frequency of love in that wave going to the person. And
Mhm.
it's so real to me. So that's why for me, I watch what I say. I came to this earth very cognizant of what I say. And I remember I was even, I think, Kandra, a month ago or so, I was kind of complaining about
Oh,
something, and, complaining about something light. It was little, but a being stepped into my field, and it was a high vibrational, like, Christina, we don't do that. I mean, I'm literally kept on a short leash of because I have purpose. There's frequency coming through the voice and bringing that back, because look at how much distortion through our voice and what we're listening to. So when I experienced that, it was like I knew that was a high dimensional being. No, stay up here. Don't anchor that into your field. And I'm like, okay, let go, process through it. And I don't know if you remember that. I was like, whoa. I was told don't do that. Okay. So it's a very real thing. However, we have to, so to come back to why we say what we're saying, and if you feel dissonance, or if you're in that doubt or you're on the journey, I would say that trust the process. There's just frequencies dying out that aren't who we are, and source is wanting to come through you and will speak through you and connect to you and show you and love you through whatever it is you're going through. And then you hit a place, man, like I had a vision one time. It was like I had like an iPad, and I could move. I had a stylus, and I could move the point on the grid, and it was like Doctor Strange with the time stone. He changed the apples uh life cycle. It could
mm,
either be, it showed a bite being taken out of it, another bite, and it's just a core the more he turned it, or he turned it the other way and it was decaying.
Mm.
And for me, when in this vision, as I moved, the color of the couch changed, the lamp, different style lamp, like, but it's like it already knew me. If I wanted to go more cabin like, or if I wanted, and even the sound, the frequency, the tone, and I know these are words, and I pray you'll study them out because that's a journey in itself. Tone alone is a journey in of itself, and it will always bring you back to source. And the mechanics there is mind blowing. But as I was moving, so much shifted, and I was like, whoa. So that's a high dimensional function, but it takes governing yourself in the D1 physical body, D2 emotional body. Can't be wobbly. You got to be secure. You got to exercise and have that mental fortitude and comprehend why all of this is chaotic and it cannot touch your field. And then your mental space, that there have been some spaces where I'm like, oh my, it is slippery, it's slick. And if I didn't have these two solid foundation, I could see how they say the world is mental, and it is. It's your perception. But I was
Mhm.
perceiving a heavy hijack of this thought that was making me doubt myself from me making a very positive, healthy, fluential move. And but for whatever reason it was like literally jading the lines. I couldn't, it was so blurry. But in my heart I knew this is correct, but my mind I'm like, what? Whoa, this is mind fuckery at its best, if I could, for lack of a better word. And I'm like, wait a minute, no. And I'd write it down. This is my volition. This is what I want, to get my mind, my perception to read instead of being pulled by this frequency or this radio signal that's so weak, but why am I sensitive to that? And I'd write it down, and I would get a sacral yes because I'm a generator. So my sacral yes, and I'm like, okay, anchor into that body and then send that frequency or whatever, this pull on my mind to Department 22. Go ahead and take care of that, send it back to source. And then you clean that up, get your fortitude solid, sovereign, and then you start climbing up, and there are versions of you. Those are your mind, those are your higher minds that are available for you. However, when we're lowering the frequency, it has to stay in the realm of purity, because if it was accessible, it would fry us. Source loves us enough to, we're just going to hold this capacity back so that you don't hurt yourself. But then some people can still pull from that. And that's why we have high level criminals, high level dark avatars, they call them, that are functioning from masculine, feminine energies and distorting it. And, remote viewing astral capacities and going to the ley line and programming distortion, tort. They are literally doing that. So there is a capacity for that. But that's not my volition. That's not what I'm here to do. I don't want that. So there is accountability in all of this for whichever path you choose. So Dark Star, you're correct that there are people that are using the earth, the planet's energy grids, the functions that are here, and hijacking it. And there are those of us rising up to clean that up. And like I said, we were talking about earlier, the chimpanzee that saw, witnessed how to open the box, and it that telegraphed to the entire genome. Same thing. There are those that anchored light and love and Christ tones in. And so those of us that are asking, well, what? And it's like now they have a way in to show us because we're open, we're asking of our own volition, and that's how Source honors us, is by asking, us asking. So, yeah.
So beautiful. Do we want to wrap this up in any particular way?
Yeah, we could do a Maharic shield. It's one of the um, techniques I learned to, as a, when I started learning the Kilanta sciences. So there's, you've got your metaphysical sciences, Kilanta. It's very advanced. So definitely you'll feel it more than you'll comprehend it. And this one, um, the Maharic shield, what it is anchoring the D12, your level 12, floor 12, original DNA template, uh, your original DNA template, and opening up the contents, the energy, and allowing that to heal your body and cut off any loops and siphons. And sometimes when you go through this, something might reveal itself. You have a cord attachment here, or you might get different things. Just watch. So we'll just do this exercise, and there's a lot to explain behind it, but the beautiful thing is sometimes we don't always have to know the algorithm. We don't have to know the math, just experience it. So we just close our eyes and take a deep breath. And you have a pineal gland behind your third eye right here, between your eyes and your mind. So it's the same place where the screen of your mind, where you picture things, that's your pineal gland. Picture a Merkaba star. And if you don't know what that is a six-pointed star. So it's a triangle and another triangle over it, but just inverted. So it's overlapping each other. And that is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant has the ability to lock in a frequency into your body. So we are going to see a pale silver Hierophant. And I should get a visual of this six-pointed star. So see it in your mind's eye. And then we have a energy point at the center of the earth. We're going to send it from our pineal gland, breathe in and exhale, and it'll push down that Hierophant to the earth's core. So we're going to breathe in, and then we're going to push it down and push it down to the earth's core, which represents the heart of our creator. And just hang out there. What do you feel? Sometimes you might feel like you're in a womb. You might feel like you're in inner earth. There's a paradise down there. For me, I countered a walrus, half whale and walrus, and those have very specific functions. And we hugged, and I cried the deepest love cry. So, whatever that is for you, or you can anchor in to Mother and just let her love you, let her fuse and charge you with light. Breathe. And then we're going to inhale and bring up that Hierophant that's been charged, and we're going to bring it up to the heart. It's now sitting at the heart space. And exhale to let the contents out. Let that love fill your heart space. And then we're going to breathe in to push it up to about 3 feet above our head, which is the 13th or 14th chakra. Bring it up. And we're just going to let that shield us, seal us in a bubble, start to cascade over us. Breathe in to bring it back to the heart. And we're going to push it down 12 inches below our feet. And it's going to finish the bubble around us. And we're sealed in a Maharic shield. And I like to make mine about an inch thick, even though we're in this pillar of light, but I like to make it an inch thick. That's me sovereignly setting my term. I like to make it an inch thick so distortion, tort cannot pass through my field. Just breathe that in. The Hierophant is locking the frequency. So I don't know if you've ever been to those restrooms where it's a glass door, but then you can see through the restroom, but when you lock it, it frosts it, so it's a light that hits the glass and it looks frosted, so you can't see in. I think it's the most. I'm like, that is the most clever visual, uh, because for me to knock on the door in a loud restaurant or at a loud club back in the day, I wouldn't be able to hear anybody in there. So that visual was the perfect. It met my need. So just picture that as the Hierophant just does that. It locks. It blocks out any visual, sound, low vibration, frequency, whatever you want it to do. You could set that. So that is the Maharic shield in this moment, setting terms to that, how I felt to flow with. For anybody watching, that's how you can set your bubble. And you could just tap in, go outside throughout every few hours as you start to begin this and just breathe and remember, visit that place again and see it there. And if you ever see distortion or a weird thing happen, just watch. Just
Mm-hmm.
watch and watch yourself. If you're wobbly on the inside, don't worry, you're in that Maharic shield. And as you breathe, like I said, when you breathe, you're moving energy. You're like the heartbeat of the blood circulating. You're like that, but with plasma, with light, with scalar waves. You're moving and you're shifting the energy to bring the lower form back to source and bring in what source has for us to fill that space with goodness, yummy, and life force. And so it is.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm like releasing all kinds of stuff's coming up. My eyes are leaking. I'm yawning. I'm like, okay, moving all that stuff. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some good stuff. Kandra and I are working on some things. We got some good stuff. Courses coming out, more material, techniques to bring forth because it is time for us to really know who we are. Yes,
Yeah.
releasing, just releasing all that. Cool. Well, we shall see you
Yeah.
next day. Uh, 7. We're aiming for 7.
Yeah.
And if it's 7:15, we're outside of time and space, so we're popping
Yeah.
in when
I'm
we're
like,
popping.
it's 7 for you, but it's like 10 for me, and I still was late today. But and
So
if you want to know any more information on the drops that we mentioned or any of this stuff, don't hesitate to reach out. put it in the links or in the comments. There is a link on something around here. If you want the link, I can drop it in the comments, to get connected with the drops, the fix that we talked about. If you want the support for your nervous system, if you're dealing with a lot of complex trauma and you want someone to sit with you, Christina's husband is doing that right now, so we can connect you with him. If you want someone to just sit with you and witness with you, Christina, I don't know if you're open for sessions yet. I know I also do sessions just to witness, because I don't believe you're broken. I don't believe that, you need to be healed. I believe that you have those faculties within, and sometimes it's just witnessing, and you can be afraid to do that on your own. So I'm definitely here to help flex and see distortion patterns, or, relationship things, whatever it may be. If you want to sit and look and love and learn to love your shadows and all of that too, I'm available. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to throw in there?
I, as of now, yes, for sure, my husband. We can get you connected with him. He is helping multiple people find safety within themselves because he had to learn his journey alone. I mean, mind blowing. So definitely a huge source reservoir there. He carries high level codes that I had to learn to integrate and when I couldn't see myself. So definitely, I'm not there yet. Right now, I am working on some things that will be coming as when Spirit releases. Right now, I'm putting all the curriculum and everything that I'm learning together, and that in itself is a challenge because how do you take these deep level concepts and bring it here when it takes steps to get there yeah, so I'm spirit showing me and it's beautiful. I'm walking through it myself and I want to contain the field fully before I release that. I want to I want the building to be complete, so to
Wise.
decorated and beautiful and put together. So yeah, but yes, I love it. And if there's questions, feedback, I'm open. I'm really right now. I'm like, where's the language? Is it landing? Are we? That's the part that I really want to hone in on to find that coherent balance with the higher level concepts and real world because I had to be removed from the real world for a long time and it's like coming back like oh I couldn't even get on Facebook. Hello Facebook land, sorry I can't be with you. I tried to join but I got banned before I could even join. So and there's a reason behind that. I know what that reason is and it's okay. So anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for joining and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Namaste.